You know, when you think of a revolution, you probably picture battles, right? Swords, cannons, all that stuff. But what if I told you the biggest revolution in history wasn't fought on a battlefield? It was fought with telescopes and with questions. This was a revolution of thought, an absolute shift in how we see everything, and it was driven by 5 powerful ideas that completely rewrote our understanding of the universe and our place in it.
So, here's how we're going to trace this incredible story. First, we'll look at the world before, a world built on belief. Then, we'll see how one single idea, putting the sun at the center, started to shake everything up. That leads us to the new toolkit people had to invent to find the truth. After that, we'll see that toolkit in action as they started decoding the universe. And finally, we'll see how the real revolution happened right inside our own minds.
All right, Section 1, a world built on belief. To really get how radical this all was, you first have to understand the mindset it completely overturned. We have to see what the world looked like before everything changed.
Let's start with a question that seems super simple, but it's probably the most important one we can ask. How do we know what's true? See, for us, the answer might involve, Google, data, experiments. But for centuries, the answer was very, very different.
For hundreds of years, knowledge just wasn't based on evidence you could test. It was founded on these 2 massive, unshakable pillars, tradition and religion. If an ancient Greek philosopher said something was true, or if a religious text confirmed it, well, that was it. That was the end of the discussion. You didn't need to question it, you simply accepted it as fact.
Okay, so let's look at how that old foundation started to get its first major crack. This brings us to Section 2. The sun takes center stage. This was the one giant disruptive idea that really got the ball rolling.
And wow, was this a dramatic shift. The old view was simple, kind of comforting, right? Earth is the center of everything. The sun, the planets, all the stars, they all revolved around us. But this new idea, it just flipped the entire script. It suggested that, no, the sun is the center, and we're just another planet going around it. This new concept got a name, the heliocentric theory. It was put forward by an astronomer named Copernicus. And you have to understand, this wasn't just a new fun fact about space. It was a direct challenge to centuries of tradition, to authority, to everything people thought they knew. I mean, if the old books were wrong about something this huge, what else might they be wrong about? And this created a massive problem. If you're going to make a claim that big, a claim that shakes the foundations of the world, you need more than just a good idea. You need proof. This leads us to our third major development. We needed a new toolkit for truth, a whole new system to sort fact from fiction. And that new toolkit was the scientific method. It was this amazing step-by-step process for figuring things out. You don't start with what you believe, you start with a question. Then you observe what's happening. You test your ideas with an experiment. And then, and this is the crucial part, you draw your conclusions based on evidence. Evidence that anybody can check and verify for themselves. It was a revolution in the process of finding answers. Now, the philosophy powering this whole thing was rationalism. This is the core belief that our own minds, our ability to use reason and logic, are the main tools for finding knowledge. It was a really powerful statement. It basically said you didn't have to just wait for some authority to tell you what's true, you could actually figure it out for yourself. So, let's recap. We've got a revolutionary theory about the sun, and we've got a new toolkit to test it. Now let's see what happened when people actually put this new toolkit into action. It's time for Section 4, Decoding the Universe. The main battleground for all these new ideas was astronomy, the study of space. Thinkers like Galileo started pointing their newfangled telescopes at the sky, and they just started collecting data. They were making observations, testing that heliocentric theory. The sky basically became this giant laboratory. And the more they looked, the more they realized something incredible. The universe wasn't just this random, chaotic place. It followed rules. It had patterns. It really gave them this profound feeling that suddenly the cosmos had a rulebook, and for the first time in history, we were just starting to read it. The person who finally wrote down the biggest rule in that book was, of course, Isaac Newton. And that rule was gravity. This was the ultimate proof of concept. Here was a single, invisible force that explained 2 totally different things: why an apple falls from a tree to the ground and why the Earth orbits the sun. It was a universal law, and it was discovered entirely through reason and evidence. Discovering all this stuff about planets and gravity was absolutely incredible, for sure. But it all points to our final and maybe most important idea: the revolution that took place in our minds.
Because really, the biggest change of all happened right between our ears.
This was the great shift. It was a fundamental rewiring of how humans think. We went from just accepting tradition to demanding evidence. We moved from relying on pure belief to using logic. And our whole world expanded, from living in this small, cozy little world with us right in the middle, to being part of a vast, mysterious, but, and this is key, ultimately knowable universe.
And that right there is the biggest takeaway. The true revolution wasn't about rearranging the planets in the sky. It was about rearranging the way we think. It gave humanity a brand new foundation for all knowledge, a new operating system based on evidence and reason that would go on to power, well, pretty much everything in the modern world.
Which leaves us with one last thought to chew on. That spirit of curiosity, of demanding evidence, of using logic, and being willing to challenge even the things we hold most dear, that's the real legacy here. So the question becomes, how does that legacy challenge us, right now, to question our own assumptions today?